In a few moments' time, we're going to be talking about Andy Gray and Richard Keys. They were caught discussing a female lineswoman. Have a listen to this.
Well, somebody better get down there and explain offside to her.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe that? Female linesman. I think that's what I said. Women don't know the offside rule.
Of course they don't. I can guarantee you there'll be a big one today. Kenny will get potted. This is not the first time, is it? Didn't we have one before?
Yeah.
Wendy Toms.
Wendy Toms or something like that,
Oh, no, it's got to be done. It's good. The game's gone mad.
That's Andy Gray and Richard Keys basically saying that the female linesman that's in a bit of trouble today, that, we're going to have a female, we need to teach her the offside rule. Today we'd like to know, is this sort of sexism quite common in Ireland, particularly in Irish sport? If you're an Irish footballer, an Irish GAA player, an Irish boxer, we'd like to hear from you. 085 121 1038. Or if you work in a male-dominated environment, do you get this sort of comment all the time? Is sexism dead and gone in Ireland? You can text us 085 121 1038. Tanya says, I think Sky Sports have female sports presenters who clearly understand the rules. Double standards from Sky, I think. Another says, it always happens to me. I play football and one of the lads always just says, girls can't play football. I wouldn't mind, but he's worse than any of the girls I know that play. And another text, Ireland is a backward country. Just look at the GAA. RTE don't even broadcast the ladies All-Ireland matches, and the attendance and ticket prices say it all. It's a joke. Makes me sick. In my own GAA club, the men's teams get first preference of pitches over the ladies, even though we win way more than they do. They always get steak dinners after training and free gear. I hate it. Is sexism alive in Irish sport? You can text us your stories, 085 121 103. Talking about comments made by Andy Gray and Richard Keys, the two Sky Sports commentators, and they were watching the Liverpool v Wolves match and were caught off mic making remarks about Sian Massey. We played the clip for you there. The audio isn't great, so just read out what they were saying there. Keys says, somebody better get down there and explain offside to her. And then Andy Gray says, can you believe that? A female linesman. Women don't know the offside rule. And then Keys says, I can guarantee you there'll be a big offside rule today, a big offside decision today. Kenny Dalglish will go potty. This isn't the first time. Didn't we have one before? So we'd like to hear from you, 085 121 1038. Is sports in Ireland very different? Do we have the same sort of sexism going on? If you're a female footballer, GAA player or boxer, we'd love to hear from you. And also, if this sort of thing goes on in the place that you work, you can also drop us an email, thespin@spin1038.com. Aaron has texted in saying, I'm sick of explaining the offside rule to women. Maybe they're sick of it too, Aaron. Keep them coming in. 085 121 1038. We have Louise on the spin. Louise Quinn is the Irish Soccer International and captain, and is ace Irish Soccer International, and is captain of Peamount Utd All-Ireland Senior Championships. Good afternoon, Louise. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Have you heard the comments made by Andy Gray and Richard Keys?
I did, yeah, I heard it earlier on. And, it's just, it's just absolutely disgusting. They're supposed to be, commentating on football and representing it in a good way. And, they're coming out saying that, a woman can't be a lines person in a match. And so I just find it's just kind of disgusting, really, I think.
What about, broadcasters in general? These guys were caught off mic. They didn't say anything like that on air. Do you think that what people say in privacy is totally different to what they say on air?
I would almost think what they're saying, when they think that they're off air could be more true, That's more of their opinion on things. So I think they rightfully got caught out, because we should be we should be hearing their full opinion, and they shouldn't be, lying to their audiences,
Why don't we watch women playing football?
It's definitely a thing about media coverage, and that we just don't get enough of it. We get, in Ireland, you get, the odd newspaper clipping, and, sometimes for international matches, they maybe put the scores on the news, but, that'll be just about it. But, just a few months ago, it was shown that women's sport is such a great thing, like under 17s, competing in the World Cup, the Women's World Cup. And, getting to the quarterfinals, and the matches were being broadcast. And on the same night, Katie Taylor had a fight on the same night as a match, and it was one of the most, exciting nights of in women's sport, and just in general for Ireland. Katie Taylor representing in the boxing, the World Championships and everything. But still, she's only getting internet coverage, which you know, it's just not good enough overall, you know.
I imagine it must be very frustrating, Louise, because you're a soccer international, you're a captain of a football team that are All Ireland Senior Championships champions, and yes, you have to do something like that to get half a paragraph in the paper. I mean, our own Irish national team haven't been great in comparison to the rest of Europe in the past 12 years, in my living memory almost. And yet, we perform particularly well in some competitions in women's football. As I said, the under-17s did really well. But it's almost as if women have to do 4 times better to get the same amount of column inches.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, it's even if the men's team do badly, they're still going to get just as many column inches. So it's just something that we're still really trying to keep pushing for. And, you know, kind of in other countries, you know, in America, soccer is one of the biggest sports. Like, women's soccer is more popular than men's soccer. And, you know, in Europe, it's developing, you know, in Europe, it's developing so much more. Like, you know, they do have there was a match where we played France, which was televised, and a match where we played Iceland in the playoffs, which was also televised. But, you know, people don't know it's on. So it needs to be put out there. It needs, you know, just simple things put on websites, just, you know, thrown on the news for just, you know, 30 seconds. It's just kind of everything helps, you know. What
about then the officials, the people you play with, and the public in general? I mean, do you think the Irish soccer organisations are very fair to women? Do you think women's football gets enough funding? Do you think the organisation takes it seriously?
You know, it's starting to get better, but it still needs a lot of work. There's some, like, you know, some excellent women referees in Ireland who are also you know, UEFA officials and everything who ref Ireland matches. You know, the likes of Marie Ward, Hilda McDermott, you know, Rona Daly and everything, and they represent women and women referees very well. And but the fundraising, you know, it's still a big issue. As for us, you know, being the FAI champions, we get to go to the Champions League in August, and we still have to fundraise, you know, about up to €30,000 by ourselves. So, you know, there's going to be other teams around Europe who don't have to do a thing of that, but, you know, we have to, you know, put our heads down and fundraise, you know, a lot of money.
Wow.
Which is going to be so hard, obviously, you know, recession times and everything. So we've just got to, you know, because we're not going to know what parts of Europe we're going to be going to, you know, it's just kind of, we're not sure what to do, so we just have to fundraise as much as we can.
We want to hear reaction from you guys out there. 085 121 1038. What's your opinion of women in sport? And do you think Andy Gray and Richard Keys should be sacked for their comments? You can text us 085 121 1038. How do the guys react, Louise, if you're out on a night out and you tell someone that you're a footballer?
You know, they almost seem like a bit surprised first, I suppose. They just, like, but then, you know, they kind of get over it, and then you tell them, you know, yeah, like, play soccer, and, you know, we're playing France next week and everything, and they're just, you know, they're impressed, and so they ask your opinion. And, like, you obviously do get the slags, but sure, you know, it's going to be, you know, like, you kind of get used to it, and you kind of can handle it, and they are already having a bit of crack, like, because even actually right this moment, I'm supposed to be having a kickback with the lads in college, so it's just, I suppose it just depends on what fellas you meet.
Do you get the offside rule comments all the time?
Like, sometimes, you know, yeah, because, like, I'm a defender, so, you know, I do get asked about it, but, you know, I can, like, you know, I obviously know it. You have to know it.
Don't worry, I wasn't going to question whether or not you knew it, Louise. I'm pretty sure you know, as an Irish soccer international, I'm pretty sure you're solid on the offside rule. I don't think I know what it is at the moment. In technical terms, I don't know if I'd be able to explain it. But so, I mean, in general, guys might slag you a bit, but it's not that much of a big deal. It's not as bad as you might think.
Yeah, you know, it's just a bit of banter, because they know, like, you know, it's just such an ongoing trend, and everyone knows that women's soccer gets slated. But, you know, once you can just prove them wrong, like, that's like, you prove them wrong. You can, you know, you tell them the offside rule, and you're like, yeah, sure, we'll have a kickback one of the days, and we'll just, you know, see how they react. But, you know, it's always just a bit of good banter if you're with the right guys.
Well, I have to say, you know, I'll put my hand up and say we haven't covered enough Irish women's soccer. So do let us know how you get on in the Champions League, and let us know how you're getting on, and we'll see if we can give you a bit more coverage, Louise. Louise Quinn,
absolutely, that'd be brilliant.
Irish Soccer International and captain of Peamount Utd. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, Mel.
The Spin on Spin 103.8.
Well, you can text us 085 121 1038 or follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/spin 1038. What is your experience, guys, out there? You know, if you meet a girl like Louise and she says she's an Irish soccer player, do you take her seriously? Do people get this sort of sexism day to day when it comes to soccer? Love to hear from more footballers, GAA players, boxers. Are women always going to be second class when it comes to sport? 085 121 1038. We have Olivia on the Spin. Hi, Olivia.
Hey, my name is Olivia O'Toole. I played for Ireland for 20 years. And I have 54 goals for Ireland. And I've just been listening to Louise there. She's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I think it's absolutely disgraceful what Andy Gray said this morning.
Well, we've a text in from a guy called Simon. He says it was just two lads having the banter. Is that not allowed anymore?
Well, they're having a banter, but nobody's taking it as a joke. Do you know what I mean? Like, do they not understand their own English women's team is very, very good? Like Kelly Smith and... Do you know what I mean? Girls know the rules of the game. I'm playing a 20 year.
Why has this gone on? Because, as you say, you know, there's lots of Irish women's teams now. The women involved take it very, very seriously. Why is it always sort of laughed off in the media? And why are these comments just no surprise to anybody?
They're no surprise because it's been always like that. It's been like that for years. Like, I've been listening to Louise there saying about our fundraising and for going to the championship, but I play for Shamrock Rovers and we had to fundraise our own as well. Like, we had to raise £10 each to go over and represent your country, you know what I mean? I don't know why men have this perspective of women that don't know football.
Well, why do you think Irish sports bodies don't give as much money to women's football as they do to men's?
I think they throw it all into the men to make the men good, but as you know, like the Irish men's team they wear good, and then but when they're bad, they get publicity as well.
Yeah.
Like, we played in the European Championships playoffs against Iceland, and I think there was a 5-minute, 5-paragraph thing in the Herald that night. Do you know what I mean? Where if it was the men, they'd be all over the papers.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I think it's prejudice, some of it.
How do you change it then, Olivia? I mean, if the media aren't, you know, covering it, if it's not going to be on TV, how do you change that, do you think?
You change it by publicising it. That's like we played in numerous European Championships, and we've got posters of people on the day of their game to put around in shops and centres, and that's no good, you know what I mean? They need to do it before the game starts. They need to do it on the radio. They need to do it on the news. Okay. They don't, and I don't know whether it's up to the PR to do that, but we just don't get publicised when we're playing.
Olivia, thanks very much for coming on, and I think you make a really good point, and I'd love to hear from people out there. 085 121 1038. Serious question. There's an Irish international, and it's a women's international of football competition. Why would you not go? Because I would say most guys who would go out and they'd no problems going and see Republic of Ireland, no problem seeing Bows, Shamrock Rovers, but when it comes to women's football, they just wouldn't go. Honestly, what would love to know, is it because you don't think they're good enough? Is the quality not good enough? Is it the star factor? What is it? 085 121 1038. One texter says, I asked a well-known sports personality what advice he had for a female trying to break into sports broadcasting. He said, ideally, I should be a black wheelchair-bound lesbian because stations just put token women in, and that would tick all the PC boxes, so I defo get a job. Ian says, nothing wrong with a woman being a linesman once she has the cleaning and ironing done and the dinner on the table at 6 p.m. No problems then.